Welcome to my channel, and I'm back with you once again with another video of Microsoft Flight Simulator. Today I'm going to do a test flight for the Airbus A310 from Heathrow to Frankfurt, and I just thought of making this video and sharing it on my channel. This plane actually was introduced in the Microsoft Flight Simulator back in November 2022. It's been, I think, 6-7 months. This plane is available with the 40th anniversary edition of the Microsoft Flight Simulator. You can just fly it, it's for free. And one of the best things about this cockpit is this, about this plane is this, that you can interact with lots of instruments in the cockpit. And there is so much to do, even during the flight and during the approach and the landing. So I hope you're going to enjoy this video. And please do subscribe to my channel because I need lots of support so that I can just keep on making these videos for all of you. So right now you can see I'm in the cockpit of the plane, and right now all the controls are down. The plane is in the cold and dark state, and let me just show you the setting over here. If you go here, you will see all the settings: cold and dark, on GPU, on APU. So you can set any of the settings for this plane. So it's this is one of the best features, and plus I think you can also change the brightness of the electronic flight bag, which is the tab over here. So this is the yoke. It doesn't have a side stick because it's an old plane. It was, I think, released back in 1983 by Airbus A310, and then later Airbus A330 was launched, which is a bit longer version of the A310. It was used for the long haul flights, and the seat configuration of this plane is 2 on the left and right side of the plane and 4 in the middle, just like the Airbus A330 if you have flown in that plane. So this is the MCDU, and the throttle, and plus the speed brakes, the flaps, and over here overhead panel. You can see the controls are really nice, very nicely written. And first time I saw the cockpit of this plane, I got a bit confused because I'm used to simpler cockpits like Airbus A320. But right now it's a good plane, and I've seen some videos. I've just consulted some manuals, and now I can take this plane up in the air and fly it. And I'm just going to share my experience with all of you. So first of all, let's turn on the batteries and let's see what happens. Once you turn off the batteries, the external power is available. Because right now in the tab, if you look at the GPU, the ground power unit is connected to the plane. So with the help of this, you can have external power for the plane. If you call for the power supply from the tower using the ATC function, it will not work. You have to connect the GPU. Once you start the plane, it's already connected, but this is useful once you land, because after landing, you need GPU. So instead of calling it from the ATC option, you have to connect it from here. Okay, so this is something I just wanted to tell you. So if you have the external power, you can simply turn on the external powers, and you can see all the plane coming to life. You can turn off this master caution. With this, I can set the iris alignment to nav. Just a few things I want to show you in the settings before we proceed further. If you go here on the electronic flight bag, you will see the units I've set to kgs, and iris alignment I've set to instant. So the moment I'll configure the FMC, I can align the iris and it will be available. Otherwise, it takes 7 to 8 minutes if you keep it at realistic. I think half the time if you're doing it on short. Link instruments, all the instruments, especially the barometer, altimeter, sorry, is linked with the co-pilot side. So if you make any change over here, it will be changed over here on the co-pilot side. This is a side. And then plus there are certain other settings for the throttle. Let me just show you. If you just pull it all the way back, your throttle, the reverse thrust is activated. This is how I've configured it, and if you bring it forward, it goes all the way forward. So, and this is the idle position. So that's it. And plus the default altitude for the thrust reduction is 1,500. Some airports it's 1,000, some airports it's 1,500, but just keep it at 1,500 feet, at which you have to reduce the thrust after the takeoff. That's it. And with this, you have to do some weight configuration for the plane. I will be carrying full passengers, which is 238 passengers, and the fuel will be, I'll carry 10 tons. That's it. And cargo, I think we can keep it here. The center of gravity will also be populated according to this. If I press apply, you can see the center of gravity is updated, and the zero fuel weight is also calculated. 106 1.6 tons. And that's it. Fuel is coming here, and that's it. We can also do the calculation for the takeoff. So before this, we have to configure the FMC. So on the FMC, if you look at it, it's just like the Airbus A320's MCDU. Slightly few things different. Did I call it FMC before? I'm sorry for that. I'm getting confused because, I'm flying nowadays Boeing and Airbus a lot, so it's FMC and MCDU. So you call it MCDU over here, but if I call it FMC, you can also consult to the MCDU. It's the same thing. MCDU is the multifunction control and display unit, with which you can just interact with the flight management and guidance system, and this is where all the information goes in for the flight. So we have to set EGLL Heathrow to EDDF. One of the very few approaches I have flown in the flight simulator is Frankfurt. Align Iris, and the wind and the cruising altitude is 32020. I've already made the flight plan in the sim brief. Flight ID, I always use AA123. Cruising altitude will be 280. And my cost index will be 20. And now I can configure the block fuel and it be 10.0, and the zero fuel weight is 106.6. The click region's a bit difficult. It's happening to me in the videos a lot. Okay, zero fuel weight, center of gravity is 23.8, so I can set it over here, 23.8. Okay, that's it. Now I can do the flight plan for the approach. It said is a 9 left. I can select 9 left, and with this DET 1K is my set for the departure. And what I can do is this. Now I can get the flight plan from the sim brief and enter all the airways and the waypoints. So that's it. I will be going to L630 to DVR. So after DET, L6 to DVR, and then from there UL9 to Conan. Here it is, and then UL607 to KOK. They direct to SPI. So what I can do is this. I can enter SPI. And let's see what are the coordinates for this. So if you look at the coordinates, it's the first one, so I can select that one. That's it. And afterwards I will be going to T180 to Unoko. I will go straight away to Unoko. T180. Will it appear over here? Yes, Unoko. So these are all the points in between the flights. So I'm just trying to keep a simple flight plan. So I will straight away go to Unoko. And from Unoko, I can select the star and the runway. So in Frankfurt, I will be landing at ILS Y7 left, DF454, and Unoko 4D. And that's it. So now you can scroll through the flight plan and you can clear it. So you have to clear this vector. Not allowed. Okay, return. Let's go back and let's clear this vector first. Oh, I cannot do that. Let me do it again. Now. Okay, that's good. And now it's done. So the flight planning part is now complete. I can check the plan. And you can see that the plan is updated. Accordingly, yes, the plan is correct. So let's go back and see. And that's it. So this is also done. Takeoff and approach. Let's get the V1 and VR. So over here, I have to first enter the length of the runway. It's coming. It's 3,908 meters. So we can select this. Oh, I have to click this and then enter. And the runway heading is 090. Wind is coming 110 from at the speed of 8 knots. Outside temperature is coming QNH 1016. Weight is 106.6 if I'm not wrong. Let's go to initialization B. It's 106.6. So 106.6. Enter. Flaps 15 by 15. 15 slats and 15 flaps. This is one of the configurations for the takeoff for this plane. And with this, I can calculate and get the V1, VR, and V2, 138, 138, 165. So let's enter it over here, 138 and 138. Once I have the APU running, then I will also adjust the V2 speed, because right now you cannot interact over here with these controls. They only come into action when you turn on the pitch, trim, yaw damper, and the ATS. So once I have the APU, I can turn them on, and then I can adjust the speed and the heading for the flight. So that's it with the MCDU configuration, and everything is now done. So what I can do is this: I can start with the startup procedures, and I can just take you through that. Seatbelt signs, let's turn them on. No smoking signs on, and strobe, let's set to auto. Beacon, let's turn it on, and nav, set to nav. That's it. Let's turn on the fuel pumps. Let's turn on the oxygen supply, and probe heat and window heat. Let's turn it on. I can turn on the APU, and we can just keep an eye on the APU to start. Let's wait for it. Here's the APU. So once the APU is available, you will see avail over here, and plus the voltage coming over here for the APU generator. So it means we have power from the APU, and we can disconnect the ground power. And with this, I can turn on the yaw damper and the pitch trim and the ATS auto trim system. As you have seen, there are a lot of things to interact with in this cockpit. You can see the PFD over here, the navigation display. This is the display for the vertical speed. If it's going clockwise, it means the plane is going up or climbing. And if it's going down anti-clockwise, it means the plane is descending. This is the altitude altimeter. And this is another one. We can set the barometric pressure as well. As I'm waiting for it for the APU, I can also set the barometric pressure. And let's get it from the built-in feature of the Microsoft Flight Simulator is 9999. 1016. Q is 1016. So 1016. As I've synchronized all the controls, so that's why once I adjust this altimeter, this one and the one on the co-pilot side is also adjusted. Right now you can see the APU is coming to life. With this, I can turn on the APU bleed. Some very nice cockpit, a nice plane. The exterior is really nice. I wanted to do some ground services, but in order to save some time right now in this video, I will not be doing the ground services, but maybe in the future when I'm doing some tutorials for this plane, I can do it. But over here, you can interact with the ground services. You can open and close the doors for the cargo, for the passengers. And pushback, I've tried using it from this side. I can start it, I can go back, but turning left and right was not happening when I tried it. So right now in this video, I will not be using that feature. I will be using the built-in feature for the Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now the APU is available, so I can turn on the APU bleed and pitch trim on, yaw damper on, and ATS on. With this, I can set 165 over here as the V2. It was 165, 182, 65 and 59. Okay. So this is the V2, and plus for the takeoff I will be using flex to temp. So it will be 59 with the reduced thrust of 97.8%, and that's it. So everything is now done. So what I can do is this: I can disconnect the external power, and plus I can also call off the GPU. That's it, and I think we're ready to take this plane up in the air and call for the pushback. Let's set the altitude to 28,000 feet. As you can see that with this plane there are so many things to do. Even the engine startup procedure is not simple. You have to press 2-3 buttons. Otherwise, starting the engines in A320 is easy. It's also easy over here. But if you know the controls, then it becomes easier. Okay, so let's set it to 28,000 feet. And heading selector, I will select it, change it to 090 for the runway 9 left. And that's it. Now I can call for the pushback. I've actually muted the ATC communication. That's why you cannot hear it in this video. Because, you know, once you're making a video, then it's a big distraction. You keep on hearing so many messages. And especially, I don't get the takeoff clearance. So once I take off from the runway, I always get this error that, or the alert that I was not cleared for the takeoff. So for this purpose, I've just muted all the ATC communication. So I think the pushback tug will now be getting connected to the plane, and the pushback has now started. As I'm taking off from runway 9 left, so that's why it's on the right side. I will turn the plane towards the left side, and then I can proceed with the startup procedures. By the way, it's a very nice plane. I've been flying it, and I've done some flights before making this video. There are small tips and tricks about this plane. If you know them, then flying this plane is easy. You can take it out for different flights. And as you've seen it, there's so much interaction in this plane. You can do so many things. You can change the flight plan. You can make the secondary plan. And plus the lighting is also really good. I'll also try to change the time during the flight so that I can show you how the lights work in this plane. Maybe I can land at the Frankfurt airport at the sunset, so that we can also interact with the lights. So I'll just change the time during the flight and try to do a night landing. So now soon I can stop the pushback. I think it's a good pushback. I can stop it. And that's it. I can engage the parking brakes. I've never been so good at the pushback. It's never easy to align it with this line. But anyhow, I'll ignore this part and I will pretend as if the plane is straight with the line. That's it. And now what I can do is this. I can proceed with the startup procedure. So I can change this knob to A and start with the engine 2 procedure, startup procedure. Right now, if the N2, when it reaches to 20, I can then turn on the engine fuel. So everything is looking good so far, and there is no issue. I can turn on all the lights for the taxi, for the landing. You will be wondering why I turn on these lights in the morning. They are required in the morning as well, because from the distance, the other planes can see bright light and can identify a plane in the morning as well, and also in the night. So it's better to have all the lights up. I've talked to a few pilots. They say as a general practice, whether it's morning or evening or night, they always turn on the lights. Okay, so I can turn the switch on and I can start with the procedure for the engine 1. I will wait for it to cross 20 and then I can turn on the fuel pump 2. Sorry, the 1 for the engine 1. The second one in the startup, but for the engine 1. And that's it. And it's up. So right now you can see AP is available. Soon I will turn it off as soon as I have power coming in from the engine. You will hear a click sound as you've heard it before, and the screen will also blink, the PFD and the navigation display. It means that for the co-pilot and the captain, now the electrical systems are on the engine. So you can see now it happened for the left side, and before it happened for the right side. So now we have power coming in from the engine. So now I can just wait for it, and what I can do is this. I can switch off the APU, and I can turn off the bleed for the APU. Right now everything is good. You can see no light is up, so it means all is good for the takeoff. And now I can taxi towards runway 9 left and take this plane up in the air. Set the flaps to position 15 slots, 15 flaps. Let's go and look at it from here, from this angle, and you will see 15 flaps, 15 slots. Oops, that's it. And one more thing, we have to adjust the pitch trim. So let's look at it in the tab. What is it? 1.5 up. So I will just set it over here in the middle, and that's it. Great. So everything is now done, and the speed brakes are armed, flap set. I can set the auto brakes to max. In case of a rejected takeoff, you can also set this option. I can release the parking brakes. Let me just adjust the view for the flight. Yeah, I think it's a good view. Okay, so slightly up towards the left side, and I think I have got a comfortable view. Now I can start the taxi. The one thing that I've enjoyed the most about this plane is the ILS approach and the landing. Once I'll do it, you will see that it's very interesting. The controls are really interesting. Descent management is also really nice. During the climb, I will be using the profile mode, and I will climb straight away to 28,000 feet. If you look at the the SID, you will know this thing that till DET, there is a point DET. Till that point, you cannot be more than 5,000 feet. There is a ceiling for that, but right now I'll be just climbing straight to 28,000 feet. I will not consider the constraints. I will straight away climb to 28,000 feet, and during the descent, then I will descend to 5,000 feet in order to catch the glide slope, which is the required altitude to catch the glide slope. And plus, in this flight, you will also see that the descent management is really interesting in this plane, and especially the ILS approach. The best thing about the ILS approach, there's so much you have to do for the ILS approach. There is also a little trick, because if you don't learn that trick, you won't be able to land the plane and on ILS. So it's something interesting which I will tell you in this video. Okay, so right now you can see just 2 more right turns, and then I will be at the runway 9 left. The throttle has got some interesting positions as well. I will also show you during the flight. And as soon as I'm on the runway, I will hit one button, and I don't really have to interact with the throttle. The throttle only is used in this plane during the taxi. That's it. Before the takeoff and after the landing. During the complete flight, even during the takeoff, you don't have to touch the throttle. I'll show you. There is a magical button over here. You press this button, auto throttle, and it will also be set to flex to temp, and then everything will be done by the autopilot. You will see this thing, very good feature in this plane. So let's press this button. Waiting for the engines to spool up, and now power to the engine, 99.2%. Flex is set to 59 degrees. It gets a bit difficult to keep this plane straight during the takeoff, especially on the landing. It's slightly lighter than the 747 and 777. So it's V1. You don't hear the call outs, but you can still take this plane up in the air. Positive rate of climb, so that I can take the gears up. And that's it. So let's change this knob to map. Okay, so everything is looking good so far. Now I can start retracting the flaps. I can reduce the vertical speed, and plus I can also set it to climb. Now from flex thrust to, I've changed it to the climb mode, and plus I can take the flaps up, turn on the autopilot, and I can turn on the nav for the navigation. Now if you turn on this option, the plane will actually follow the flight path, and I can also activate profile. So now the speed and the altitude, everything will be handled by the autopilot. It is just like if you're turning on the profile, it's just like in the Airbus A320 when you have the manage mode. In the manage mode, everything is managed by the autopilot, the speed, the vertical speed, and the altitude. And over here, you press this profile button. You see profile climb and profile thrust. It means that the climb and the thrust and the vertical speed, it's all handled by the flaps. Didn't go up. Okay, now I think I pressed F5, but it didn't go up. So it's in the profile mode, and you can also have an open climb by pressing the level change button, and then you can adjust the speed accordingly and vertical speed accordingly. But right now for this video, I will just use this option, and I can disengage the brakes. The flaps up now, and you can see the plane is climbing really fast. And by this point, you can see this indicator also coming for the top of climb. So some nice activity going on in the cockpit. Beautiful view of the plane from outside. Looks really nice. A superb plane. And doing flights with this plane is also very nice. I'll just show you a few things. Let's go over here to this view and see how many views you can have from the showcase mode. So I can start off with this view, and you can see the wing flex. You know, it's really flexible. The wings are. You can see the wing flex in movement. I think this is from the cockpit, so if you extend the flaps, this is a good view to look at the city, and plus the flaps in action. And even if you activate the ground spoilers, you can have a good view of them. Can I do it right now? Yes, you can see. You don't activate the ground spoilers during the takeoff, but I just did it. Okay, and this is another view of the right wing and the back of the plane. This is also a nice view of the engine. You can see the slats coming out if you extend the slats and the flaps. And that's it. So some nice views of the plane from outside. Let's now turn off the seatbelt signs as the plane is above 10,000 feet, and I can turn off these lights, set this to nav, turn off the wing lights. And that's it. So right now the plane is climbing to 28,000 feet, and it was really nice taking this plane up in the air, and I hope you have also enjoyed it. Now I will wait for the top of descent, and from there I can take on this video and show you how the ILS approach and landing is done with this plane. At 28,000 feet, I'll change this option to cruise, or there's another option. Instead of clicking climb and cruise, you can also click auto, and it will automatically be changing over here. So right now it's in the climb mode, so CL will come as soon as it's at the cruising altitude. It will come as CR. So you don't have to select it from here. You can also select to auto, and the autopilot will also gauge which phase of the flight the plane is, and according to that it will change the auto throttle. So now the top of descent is near, and soon I will be descending to 5,000 feet, as you can see it over here on the navigation display, the constraints. So also let's change the time, as I told you before in the beginning of this video, that I will be changing the time to sunset to show you the lights for this cockpit, and I think let's keep it here. Okay, now with this you see these three knobs over here. You can have the map light, and let me just change it, and you can see the map light from here. Nice one. And plus you can increase the brightness over here, and the brightness on these controls. You can adjust them, and plus over here, if you look at these knobs for the pedestal, you can change the brightness. So it looks nice in the night as well. And further, you can also turn on the dome, and you can also change the brightness of the dome, as you can see it in the cockpit. So I think I'll keep it here, because at times some subscribers have complained that the cockpit was too dim in the night. It gets difficult because obviously people are using different displays, and different displays have got different light settings, and they show brightness at different levels. That's why I'm just trying to keep it as bright as I can, just to show you. And plus I can also increase and decrease the brightness of the PFD and the navigation display. Now the top of descent is coming, so I can adjust the altitude and start the descent. I will be descending to 5,000 feet. This is the altitude at which I will be intercepting the glide slope. Let's start it, and you can see this vertical deviation coming, which will show you the deviation of the plane from the descent profile. Right now the plane is higher than the descent profile. And now the descent has started. So 5,000 feet. Now, few things to be done in this plane. If you see over here on the pedestal, you have to set the ILS frequency and the course. So let's open the airport charts and look at the approach for the 7 left. I can just reduce the size of this window, and now I can just open the approach plates for 7 left. The ILS DME is 110.3. And the course for this runway is 66 degrees. So let's set the course. Okay, and that's it. And the decision height is 505 and 305. So let's go and enter it over here. 505. This is the decision height, or the decision altitude. I can enter 305 over here. That's it. So now the plane is descending towards the runway. Just few more turns and the plane will be at 5,000 feet. Heading for the landing runway is 7 left is 66 degrees. So let's also change this knob. Oops. That's it. So right now on the FMA, the flight mode and interior, you can see the throttle is retarded. It's fully in the, I think it's fully in the, not in the idle position, but it's been reduced. And it's the profile descent. So it's not an open descent, but a profile descent or a managed descent, as it's in the Airbus A320 below. I think you can also see the Frankfurt airport. And let me just adjust the view. So here it is, a nice beautiful view of Frankfurt during the sunset. Airbus A310 approaching the runway. Scattered clouds, and everything is good. So I think you will also now be familiar with the cockpit lights. Very easy to interact with, to adjust the lighting as per your convenience. This is the button for the auto throttle disengage, and especially the autopilot disengage, not the auto throttle disengage, but the autopilot. And once you press it, the autopilot is disengaged, and then you keep on hearing the error and the beep sounds. So you press it again in order to get rid of those beep sounds. So once I'm doing an ILS landing, I will just show you 16,700 feet, and let's see by which altitude I will be, by which point I will be at this altitude. So even reduce the brightness of the screen. It was too bright. I think yes, before, very well before the runway, the plane will be at 5,000 feet, and this is the final descent point. I can also change it to ILS, and you can see the ILS indicators, the vertical one and the lateral one appearing over here on the PFD. The plane speed is really high. That's why it's taking big turns. I think after below 10,000 feet, the speed should reduce. Otherwise, I can always reduce the speed. I can bring it to 220. You can see that the plane is now out of the profile mode and it's in the level change mode. In this level change mode, first the speed will reduce and then the plane will further start the descent. As you can see now, right now speed is the priority, and then afterwards the descent will start. Navigation is on, it's set to nav. As soon as I'm near the runway, I will also press this button, land. This is actually the approach button as you press it in the Boeing and the Airbus planes. That's it. And one more thing, the most important thing is to basically bring the gear lever in the middle in the on position. If you don't bring it in the on position, you won't be able to activate approach, and if you activate land, the plane will not follow the glide slope. This is one mistake that I was doing in 3 or 4 different flights, and I was wondering why my ILS is not working. So be careful with this. This is something I just wanted to tell you, that in this plane you have to bring the lever in the middle position or in the on position, so that you can activate the approach phase, and then you can follow the glide slope to land the plane. Right now you can see the speed is stable at 220, and again the descent has started. What I can do is this, I can also increase the vertical speed, set the flaps to slats to 15, because now as I've increased the vertical speed, so the speed will also increase, so I'll keep it at 2000. You can see at 245 knots we can have slats at position 15, and 210 we can have 15 slats and 15 flaps. So at the speed is more than 210 knots but less than 245, that's why I can have slats at position 15, 11,600 feet. Can I further increase the descent rate? I can ignore the speed for some time. And let's also get the META for the airport. Adjust the airport is not coming. I can't see it. It's coming. Okay, what I can do is this. I can get this information from here. Okay, and it's 1015, so I can adjust it over here. Okay, just 3 more thousand feet to go. Over speed issue, I can apply the speed brakes. Now the spoilers to reduce the speed. Engage the speed brakes, and I think by this point you can see this arc appearing over here, so it means by this point I will be at 5,000 feet, so which is a good indication. With this I can also activate the approach, final approach. The speed will further reduce. If I go into the profile mode, then you can see that by this point, the plane will be at 5,000 feet, and plus the speed is also reducing. It will go to 136 knots, and with this I can then further extend the flaps and the slats. So this is how you manage the descent. You can see the 3 runways, the center, left and the right. This is the runway that I will be landing at. This is 7 center, and the other one is the center right. You can see the ILS indicators also appearing over here. So I have been able to manage the descent properly. Speed is reducing. Below 210 knots I can have 15 flaps, so I can further extend it. I will be going for a full flap landing. As you can see, 30-40, this is the flap configuration, and the slats configuration, 30 slats, 40 flaps. So just to remember, one point is this, that you have to keep the gear in the middle position. Okay, now as the plane is aligned, I can also turn on this option land, which is the approach. The plane, you can see it's trying to align itself with the runway with the localizer. You can see the localizer and glide slope. It's appearing over here on the FMA. Slight adjustment. Now I have 15 slats and 15 flaps. The speed is 100, I think 165, 68, 69. Let's see. Oh, I cannot change it now. Okay, so because it's in the profile mode. Okay, great. Now the final descent point is coming. I can further extend the flaps and slats. Now I've kept it at 20 slats, 20 flaps, and this is for the final approach. I cannot activate them right now, because if I bring the flaps and slats to 30 and 40, then you will hear the error of the gears. So I don't want that error happening. Okay, I forgot to turn on the seatbelt signs. Let's turn on the runway lights, the logo light, the wing light, landing lights, all the lights up. I can dim the dome so that I can see outside. Let's go out and have a look at it. So nice and beautiful approach. Okay, now the plane has started its descent towards the runway. As this is the final descent point, so that's why, due to this land option, the plane is now following the glide slope. So that's how you manage the descent with this plane. And you can see all the features are functioning properly. Everything is good. Right now you can see the runway is 12 nautical miles away. At 6 nautical miles I will lower the gears and extend full flaps and slats for landing. Nice view of the sunset. Further reduce the brightness of the PFT. It's too bright. Now the plane is following the glide slope and everything is good. So how much distance to cover? 10.7 nautical miles. This approach was one of the first approaches I flew in 2018 when I started on X-Plane 11. So Frankfurt was my favorite airport. I was doing lots of flights from Frankfurt. I've tried all the runways, all the 6 runways, 3 from this side and 3 from the other side. So today I selected the 7 left. So everything is good so far. 8.1 nautical miles. During the landing, I will also not be using the throttle. I will just only control the plane in order to pitch it up just before the landing, which is known as a flare. Because during the landing, as the plane is approaching towards the runway, the nose is down. So just before touching the runway, you just perform a procedure that's known as a flare, in which you slightly pick up the nose of the plane in order to level it off with the runway, and then you slowly touch the runway. You perform flare at roughly 30 feet above the runway. So now I can lower the gears, and with this I can go with full flaps and slats. Let's get back into the cockpit, and that's it. So it was a nice, wonderful flight with the Airbus A310. You have seen it's very nice plane. If you know the controls, it's really easy to control it, manage the descent and your takeoff, and plus if you are familiar with all the controls, you can easily manage a good flight. I will be doing tutorials for this plane in the coming future. One more thing, if you see over here on the FMA, the flight mode enunciator, you can see it's equipped with, this plane is equipped with Cat 2. So right now a Cat 2 ILS approach is being carried out. We can also auto land this plane. I think this button is coming. I have not tried it so far, but you can also try to auto land using this option. Then you have to enter the decision height over here. But in this video I will not be using it. Maybe I'll just practice it in the future and make some video. So I was telling you that I will be doing some tutorials in the future for this plane. I will just try to explain all the features and aspects of this plane, and also take you through all the procedures. So do subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon. The favorite, the line for the YouTubers, because you get the notifications once I upload the videos. So 1,000 feet to go, and you can see on the PAPI lights, 2 white, 2 red. It means the plane is properly following the glide slope. It's going to touch the runway at the right point. These PAPI lights over here. So you can see the ILS of this plane works really nice. So what I can do is this. Right now I can mess up the landing by deactivating the autopilot, and I'll click it again, and this error will go. Otherwise you'll keep on hearing this beep, and I will just let it go like this. 200 feet. I actually push the now I will perform a flare. Due to auto throttle, I am not actually controlling the throttle, and now it's a touchdown, and I can bring the throttle all the way back in order to activate the reverse thrust. I forgot to turn on the auto brakes, but anyhow I will use the brakes button on the controller. So that's it. Just right after the landing, I also got a message. You can hear my mobile. Okay, so what I'm going to do is this. Right now I am going to go towards the gate, and plus what I can do is this. I can turn on the APU. You can see. Now the APU is on. Oops. Sorry for this. So I will park at the gate, and then I will finish the video, because I just want to show you something. Once you park the plane, how do you get the ground power, and the necessary steps required to park the plane at the gate. This plane is slightly sensitive to control. As you can see on the landing, it was getting difficult to follow the center line. You have to really get used to it because it's slightly lighter than the Boeing 777 and 747, because I've been flying those planes a lot. So it's slightly lighter. Why the reverse thrust is active. Now I'm at the gates, so I will be parking at one of the available gates. Yesterday I came in the evening and all the gates were full. It was difficult to find a parking, but right now all the gates are free. Just switch off the lights first, and then what I can do is this. You should be doing it quickly. It's so difficult to click. Okay, so I think now it's off, and then with this I can turn off the engines. As the APU is running, I have the power, and you can see the controls flickering because now it's switched from engine to the APU. With this I can call the GPU, and then you will see the external power coming up over here. Then I can connect the plane to the external power, and then I can turn off the APU. That's it, and I can turn off the fuel pumps, and let's first of all turn off the seat belt so that the passengers can get off their seats. And that's it. So it was a good flight from Heathrow to Frankfurt. Everything good so far, and I really enjoyed this flight. I hope you'll also try a flight with this plane. Just wait for more tutorials from my side to be uploaded on my channel for the Airbus A310. Till then, take very good care of yourself. Have a nice day. Hope to see you soon.